Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Get Loved Up podcast. I am so happy to have you here. Thank you so much for tuning in every week to grow in areas of spirituality, well-being, and entrepreneurship. Today, I have an amazing guest for you. His name is Watkins. He has been practicing and teaching meditation since 1998. His specialty is showing regular people how to turn meditation from a chore into a delight. Light also delivers keynotes and leads sold-out retreats on the themes of meditation, inspiration, and happiness. Light hosts At the End of the Tunnel, a top wellness podcast that features creatives and philanthropists who have dedicated their lives to uplifting people in meaningful ways and through their work. His most recent book is Knowing Where to Look, 108 Daily Doses of Inspiration, which is a collection of stories, essays, and exercises to spark your creative instincts, activate your inner guidance, and enliven your dreams. In 2014, Light founded the Shine Movement, a global pop-up inspirational variety show that highlights regular people who are using their talents and giving back to the world in meaningful ways. Every morning since 2016, Light has been sending out Light's daily dose of inspiration and email to counterbalance some of the negativity we face in daily life. Light is a one-bagger. In 2018, he sold all of his belongings and now lives as a nomad from a single backpack and internationally practices minimalism. Light.
Yes.
What?
Yes.
Doing? Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on your show. I'm honored. I'm blessed to be here.
Well, you're traveling light, that's for sure, right?
Traveling light.
How many people just joke about your name all the time? Do you still get that? Or is it a common thing that people love to do?
Yeah. I've heard pretty much every joke, every comment you could make about the word light. So, yeah, I mean, it is. It's fine. It's all good fun. I would probably make fun of it too if I wasn't named Light.
Well, I appreciate you. I mean, since I've known you, you've always been just a true light in my life and someone that inspires me, someone who I love to check in with regularly on social. I get your emails, everything. And I'm very non-traditional. So I want to kind of just talk about your name since that's what's coming up right now. A little juice behind what is the story behind your name? Light Watkins.
Wow. So Light is not the name I was born with. It was a name that I took on, I think it was 2005. It was 2005. And what happened was I was living in Los Angeles at the time. And I was really heavy into veganism. I'm not a vegan right now. I still eat a lot of plant-based, but I'm not a strict vegan. But back then I was a strict vegan, like religious about it. So I was in that scene, and LA was sort of like the mecca for that scene. But what comes with that scene is you meet a lot of people who have sort of reinvented themselves, right? So I knew people named Sky, Tree. There was a guy named Mother who I met. There was a guy named Pineapple Head who I'd met in that scene. And so I was at lunch in the farmer's market in West Hollywood and with a buddy of mine. And we were talking about names. And I was telling him how I had met all these people who had obviously changed their names. And then I'm kind of known in my friend circle as the person who poses hypothetical questions. So I posed a question to him. I said, if you were going to change your name to something like Sky or Tree or some other word from the dictionary, I said, what would you change it to? And he said, Ocean. And then I thought, that's really cool. And then he asked me the same question. And I was drawing a blank. Literally nothing was coming. And he just started counting down 5, 4, just say something, 3, 2. And then I just blurted out Light.
Mm.
And And that was it. We finished up our lunch. We left the farmer's market. But for some reason, the thought to change my name just kind of percolated. And what was weird about it is it's not something that I would have ever thought I would do. I'm not that kind of person that would change their name, A, and B, not to something like Light, right? That's like super airy fairy. And I'm not that, I don't consider myself to be that kind of person. But the thought to do it was so strong. And I am the kind of person that listens to their intuition. And I kind of made a pact with myself a few years before that I was going to follow my heart relentlessly. I remember saying that verbatim in my kitchen in Harlem, New York, that I'm going to, because I had some experiences where I didn't follow my heart and it just didn't work out that well. So I said, I'm going to follow my heart relentlessly. Whatever my heart says to do, if it says jump, all I'm going to say is how high. So when the message to change my name came through, I knew I had to take it seriously. And so I went to some of the guys that had changed their names to ask, how do you do it? Just, right? In case I really am going to do this, like I need to know how it's done. Do you have to go to like downtown to the courthouse and fill out paperwork, or what do you do? And this is before YouTube, so you couldn't just YouTube. You have to take the analog approach. And one of the guys said, all you have to do is just start introducing yourself as your new name. So I thought, okay, that's easy enough. But then there's a catch, right? Because if you introduce yourself to one or two people as your new name, you still can kind of go back and change it back and think to yourself, well, I don't really like the way that felt. And I just so happened to be teaching yoga at the time. And I had these big yoga classes several times a week. And 2 weeks from the conversation I had with the guy who told me how to do it was my birthday. And I thought, and I happened to be teaching yoga that morning of my birthday. And there was probably going to be 50 or 60 people in the class. So I thought, what better opportunity to take the leap of faith than to tell 50 people at the same time? Because then you can't go back. Then you have to like commit, right? So cut to the class. I'm teaching this yoga class. And I get to the end of the class and I tell them I have a few announcements. And then the final announcement is, by the way, I'm going to be changing my name to Light. And I said, you can call me Light. You don't have to call me Light. I don't really care. But that's what I'm going to be referring to myself as from now on. And I'm expecting this kind of grand reaction, right? But I wasn't getting that. Everyone was just kind of looking. This is LA after all. So everyone changes their name at some point. So they're just looking at me like I said, I'm going to go downstairs and get a coffee, right? And everyone's shrugging and they start filing out of the room. And there's one woman in the room who I met about 6 months prior to that at a restaurant. I was with a buddy of mine. She was with her little 5-year-old son, Tristan. And we started talking. She found out I taught yoga, right? And this is back before everybody and their mother was a yoga teacher. So she was like, oh, I'm going to come to your class. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's fine. And I was teaching at Crunch Gym. So you need to be a member to get into this class. So I figured, I wasn't going to get into the whole thing about that because I figured she probably wasn't going to come anyway. But she somehow finagled her way in. She wasn't a member, but she would show up on occasion. And that was probably the third or maybe fourth time she had been in my class. So anyway, she was in the back corner of the room and she was looking like she had seen a ghost. And it was the only person giving me a reaction after making my big announcement. So she comes up to me and I'm like, what's going on? And she says, oh my God. I said, what? She said, this morning, before she came to class, her son, Tristan, her 5-year-old son, Tristan, came into her room and she could tell that he had had some sort of dream. And he said, "Mommy, I want to change my name." And she said, "Oh, that's cute, honey. What do you want to change your name to?" He said, "Light. I want you to start calling me Light." So of course the hairs in the back of my neck stood up, and I took that as a confirmation that I did what I was supposed to do. And after that, I had no problems with it. So, I mean, it was a slow integration period, getting people used to calling me that. But, just like the guy told me, if you introduce yourself as whatever you want to be enough times, eventually everybody will start calling you that. And at the same time, Facebook was really popular, and I changed my name to Light. But you had to have a last name, and I wasn't using Watkins at the time. It was just Light. So people started calling me Light. And then eventually I adopted my actual last name, Watkins. And so that became my name.
What an amazing story. I love that. What if I change my name? What would my name be?
You better be careful asking that question.
Really?
Unless you're ready to go through with it. That's the mistake I made.
Maybe you can give me a name. You're so good at it, because Light, that's a good name. That's a
what's funny is when it happened, I had these friends who I know I said I wasn't Airy Fairy, but I was in this channeling class with these people. I was like the one skeptic in the channeling class, though. And so I had everybody take on a new name. So there was Integrity, there was Om, there was Manifest. I forget what the other ones' names are, but everyone had a new name. So I would say, see what inspires you and maybe go with that. Koya is a beautiful name, though. What does Koya mean anyway?
Koya means strength and character. And I do love my name. I think my parents did a great job. And it's Swahili. So I do love Koya. And I feel like it's not common. But I also know your original name isn't common too. So that's my next question. Do you still have that name on your driver's license, or did you change it across the board?
No, I still have I basically have an alias, right? My government name is still very much my name on paper. And the irony is I love my name. Like, it was unique. No one ever had it. I really liked it, but that wasn't the message. The message was start calling yourself Light. And so, as much as I didn't want to do it, I felt like I had to do it. And, that's an interesting point you make, because I don't know if we're going to go here later, but, I became nomadic. You read it in my bio. I sold all my stuff, and now I'm living out of a backpack and blah, blah, blah. And people hear that, and I think they think to themselves, oh, that's really extreme, or I don't know if I could do that. And that's because you don't want that to be the first time you follow your heart. You want to follow your heart with little things, right? And so I've been, like I said, since I'm almost 48, since I was 29, I've been very, very intentional about doing that. So, moving to Los Angeles from New York was a thing that I did. And becoming a yoga teacher was another, that was a complete career shift for me. And following my meditation teacher to India, and all these little things, they add up. And then after a while, it just becomes your new norm. And it's like, if something hits your heart in the right way, you don't even think twice about it. You're like, okay, I got to do it. Like, I'm in Mexico City right now, and my internal guidance was like, go to Mexico City. And, of course, your brain is going to ask you how long and where you're going to stay and all that. Your heart's like, you'll figure that out once you get to Mexico City. Just get to Mexico City, and then the next steps will be revealed to you. And that's exactly what's been happening my entire adult life. So, so that's what my mission is to be the example for other people to take a leap of faith. Because, as you know, the real fulfillment, the real abundance happens inside. It's not about what's going on in Bank of America or Wells Fargo. It's what's happening inside of your own heart.
100%. I love that. And I think a lot of people might not have the capacity to do that because we're so attached to things. We're attached to our names. We're attached to our homes. We have this attachment. So a big pillar that we follow in Get Loved Up is spirituality, but spirituality in a way that looks different for different people. So what is spirituality to you? And is being nomadic a part of this spirituality?
Wow. So I would define spirituality as being heart-centered. Anything you do that's heart-centered is spiritual in nature, right? So if your heart says, hey, give this homeless person $20 instead of 50 cents, right? That is a spiritual message coming through you, directing you to some sort of way of expanding you beyond what you feel like your own limits are. Mm-hmm. Or be honest, like speak your truth right now. Like that's a spiritual experience, right? Sitting around eating a dozen donuts when you're trying to lose weight is not a spiritual experience because your body told you, people say, oh, I listen to my body. Well, there's your pain body that's also giving you messages. So the reason why people spend a lot of time meditating every day is because it takes consistency in order to hear the internal, what they call the still small voice. Mm-hmm. And that's your spiritual voice. That's your heart-centered voice, because that's going to tell you to do stuff that's going to stretch you, not stuff that's going to make you more comfortable and more rooted in your status quo, right? Spirituality is really about growth. It's about evolution. And so that's how you can discern whether or not a message is coming from that heart place that's a spiritual in nature versus your trauma body, your pain body, or some toxic relationship you have with somebody, telling you to go and do something harmful or hurtful to yourself or to them, or be vengeful or whatever. Like that's not a spiritual message. And so that's why meditation is considered a spiritual practice, is because it helps you to listen to and follow through on those internal heart-centered messages.
I love that. I love all that, except for the donuts. I have this belief, because I love donuts, that I can eat a donut and then have a green juice and it'll like kind of balance out in my body. So I'm gonna hold on to that. But no,
I'm not saying don't eat donuts, right? I eat donuts. I'm just saying don't confuse that with I'm following my heart.
No, I follow my heart every time I eat a donut, though. It's so good. It's so good. I mean, y'all, you can have your donut, just have a green juice. Balance. No,
just have a green juice to balance it all.
This is how we treat each other, but
but that's a real point you brought up, because even if you do have a donut, or you do have I'm trying to not eat sugar right now. So, but I had a piece of bread earlier, right? And bread technically is sugar, but it's about not shaming yourself, right? That's where people go wrong. Like, have whatever you're going to have. Just understand, hey, this is something that is going to lead me to a destination that I may or may not want to go to, but it's not a shameful thing. It's just, it is what it is. And the whole idea is just to be knowledgeable about where you say you want to go, and do my actions match the destination? Mm-hmm. And if they do, great. If they don't, great. Now you have research that can help guide you back in the direction you want to say, or maybe you decide, hey, this destination isn't the one that I ultimately want to be at. I want to kind of go somewhere in the middle. So I'm not advocating for shaming anyone about eating. And eat whatever you want, drink whatever you want, do whatever you want. Listen to how it makes you feel inside. If it makes you feel better, keep doing it. If it doesn't make you feel great, like physically, then maybe switch it up and try something else. It's all research, though.
Mm-hmm. I love that. It's all research. And I feel like just our whole life, our whole life is this big research project where we're noticing what feels good, noticing what doesn't, noticing when things shift and change in our body. So, one of our second pillars in Get Loved Up is wellness and well-being. And I know you're nomadic, you're living out of, one backpack. what are some of those things? And is it hard to be well? Because a lot of people say, I'm well until I travel. And then when I travel, everything's out of the window. So how do you keep your wellness up when you're on the road so much and you don't know where you're going to be?
So part of I consider myself to be intentionally practicing minimalism. So part of that practice is to get my needs met, no matter where I am, no matter what's going on. Right. So my needs are the same basic needs that everybody typically has, which is eating as healthy as possible, drinking as much water as possible, doing my inner practices and exercise. And if I can do all of those things, and also connecting with community, if I can do all of those things wherever I am, then I can find my balance, right? And so it's not easy, but I intentionally made myself have to figure it out in any kind of situation. And that's a part of the practice. And again, some people may hear this and think, oh, that's very extreme. And you're right. Compared to normal conventional life, it is very, very extreme, but it didn't happen overnight. I was traveling for years before I went completely nomadic, and I was intentionally practicing. I would take just a carry-on bag of clothes and I say, okay, I'm just going to operate with these clothes for these next 2 weeks or so and see how that goes. And so I would practice and practice and practice. And by the time I finally took the leap of faith, it was a natural conclusion. It was a graduation from where I was to where I was already going. And it didn't feel that shocking. So I would say to those of you who are intrigued by that kind of lifestyle, don't get rid of all your stuff tonight or tomorrow. Start practicing now for 6 months or for a year, and then very gradually get rid of this, get rid of that, or keep all your stuff and just see how little you can live with. And then eventually you can find your routines wherever you are. So it's a matter of practice. I'm not more disciplined than anybody else. I don't have some magical secret. It's just being intentional about it and practicing.
I think it's a magical secret too. I think that's a skill set, because I remember watching your videos where you're packing all these essentials, and I tried it. I did. I really tried it. And so I had my carry-on and then I had my check luggage, and I'm like, all right, let me see if I can pack everything that I'm going to need into this carry-on, and I'll take the check luggage just in case it's not possible. So here I am, I'm packing everything, my light Watkins bag, my toothbrush, my essential, one pair of shoes, a dress I can wear every day, some jeans. I followed everything. And it actually worked, but there was comfort in knowing that I had extra clothes. So that probably says something about me. Like, I definitely need that like comfort suitcase because I did pull a couple things out of it. And then I was able to take like a massager, and I actually packed more self-care things in my second bag and my necessities in the carry-on. So even if it got lost or something. So literally, again, I tell you inspire me. That's what I do all the time now. I have everything in my carry-on that I need to go anywhere. So no necessities are in my check luggage, and in my check luggage is extra clothes, feel good stuff. But if I only have my carry-on, I'll be good. So thank you. I appreciate it. And I think that's a great tip. And if y'all want to just do that, again, I think Light has a skill to like only go for that thing. But I mean, I think it's amazing.
Also, we have to consider I'm bald, right? So I don't have to deal with hair care stuff. I'm a dude. So, I don't have to have like heels or anything like that. Mm-hmm. And I don't have any kids. So I don't have to like bring toys and whatnot. So, for my lifestyle, it really works for, where I am. But if you're not where I am, then it's probably not as feasible to do something like that with so little. So you just have to accommodate it to whatever your situation is. And the thing is, it's fun to experiment, right? Mm-hmm. It's fun. And we live in a society now. I don't advocate spending frivolously, but if you really needed something, you can go to a store and get something. There are plenty of stores where you can get stuff. I mean, yeah, we can make the argument that it's not sustainably produced and it comes from this place and that place. But if we look closely at any of these things, like you saw that documentary, I'm sure, Seaspiracy and all that, like there's all kinds of crazy stuff. Look at your phone. There's all kinds of child labor and all kinds of crazy. They could do a whole documentary just on how that phone gets produced, or a book that your favorite book. Well, where were those trees? But, we could go there if we really wanted to, but you have to pick your battles and you just have to do the best you can do with what you have. And for me, it's minimizing how much of a carbon footprint I have. But I'm not going to be like a fanatic and, if I need something in a certain place, like if it's freezing and I don't have a heavy coat, I'm going to go get a coat and I'm just going to have it for while I'm in that place. And then I'll go and gift it away to a secondhand shop or something like that. But so I consider myself to be more of a hunter gatherer than a nomad, because I have no problems getting what I need if I don't have enough of whatever that environment calls for, to be relatively comfortable.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And I love that you said, do what you can, because I think we're in a world where there is a lot of shaming and guilt, and it's like, do this and be this way and look this way. I mean, at the end of the day, we all have a responsibility to do what's best for us. And when doing what's best for us impacts others in a healthy way, it's good for the entire world. And so I love that, because there's so many things that we all can do, but it doesn't have to be, okay, you might not be vegan, but you might be nomadic. You might not just take shower. You might take long baths, but you recycle, And so I think that's such an important thing to say, is just do what resonates the highest with you, and know everything that you do that's mindful, it matters and it makes an impact on the world. So thank you for saying that. And can you share a couple more? We know you meditate, the king of meditation, but what are some other things that you practice on a daily basis? We are all about daily rituals. Is there anything else that you practice on a daily basis that brings you peace?
Yes, I have been very intentional about walking 10,000 steps at least a day minimum. Wow. And that's been wonderful. And so don't laugh at me. Okay. I've been experimenting lately with exercising in the shower.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Because here's the thing. I like taking long showers. Mm-hmm. I know that's bad for the planet and all of that. I get it. And I feel like instead of just standing there and just letting the water run over my body, it'd be better to exercise, like maximize that time. So I've been doing air squats. I've been doing squats in the shower.
You told me not to laugh at you, but I think I'm laughing with you at this point. That's awesome.
So I do 40 to 50 squats. And then after I get out of the shower, it's like I've done my squats, And I feel like that's a little win in the day. It's like I did some movement, some exercise, even if I don't do anything else other than my 10,000 steps. I've done that, and I don't have to like spend extra time doing that, right? Because I kind of combined it with the shower time. So I don't have to take a shower after I did it, because I was in the shower. And I kind of like it. I have to say, I really, really like it. Yeah. So
I don't think that's too crazy. I mean, to be honest, I squat while I'm doing my hair, because you're just sitting there the whole time. And I feel like squats are great for your legs. It's so really, right. I think keeps your legs strong. It's compound exercise. I was squatting while I was brushing my teeth, but then I almost gagged on it because I almost hit my toothbrush on the sink. So I was like, I can't do that. I got to squat. I got to squat while I'm in the shower. And, but yeah, I highly recommend it. And it only takes it's not like I'm in there for 10 minutes squatting. It only takes a minute and a half to do 40 squats. And, and that's, again, I would just be standing there under the hot water. And that's kind of my moment of solace, where I get ideas and whatnot. So it's kind of nice. I kind of like it. And I'll keep doing it for now. I love that. I like it. I definitely have squatted in the shower before. So I'm definitely laughing with you and it's fun. I think everyone should try squats in the shower. Absolutely.
With everything going on in the world, now is a perfect time to pour into yourself. If you've been thinking about joining the wellness community and learning more about your health and wellness and how to improve the well-being of others, then the Get Loved Up Holistic Health and Yoga Teacher Training is for you. We have a variety of offerings from the 100 hour to get a taste of how holistic health and yoga can bless your life, and the 200 to 500 hours to deep dive into the study of how meditation, breathwork, yoga, and mindful living can transform your health and the health of our world. Go to koyawebb.com/YTT for more details. I'll see you there.
And do you have like any type of nighttime routine that you do to kind of like calm down and wind down for before bed?
Not really. I'm kind of again, I'm a very regular person. I'm not like spiritual person. So outside of my meditation practices, and also what I travel with is only the essentials. So I don't carry like oils and, crystals or anything like that. But what I will do sometimes, I'm a big audiobook reader, and reading in general or listening to stories can sometimes soothe me to sleep. And I know, there's some apps that do that, but I like to sometimes, if there's a book that I'm reading, which is most of the time I'm reading a book, I'll set the Audible has a sleep timer, like 10 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever. So I'll set that and I'll just lie down in the dark and just listen to this story. And then next thing I know, it's 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning. And yeah, so, and if I fell asleep during the story, I only missed like 5 minutes of it. So I'll just rewind it. But that's kind of nice. If there's a book that I'm really into, otherwise, honestly, it's just, I can just lay down and go right to sleep. So it's not really, I don't really have a huge bedtime routine.
That's awesome. That's awesome because I love doing that too. I love reading books before bed. I feel like somehow, somewhere I read that you retain more knowledge when you read a book at night. And I think I do it either I'll listen to a podcast or some sound or a book. And I feel like it just relaxes me. And it's also giving me all this information that my body can process while I'm sleeping. So I love that. Absolutely. So now let's kind of just talk about your entrepreneurial spirit. And I know that you have been growing and expanding your community. You're reaching so many people now, and you were a huge inspiration during the entire pandemic with your daily video. So can you share a little bit about your daily commitment to your community and what that looks like you when it comes to business?
Sure. So when the pandemic happened, I had been teaching meditation, like live meditation trainings for 14 or 15 years. And like probably, I don't know, 40 or so or 50 of them, like once a week, basically a year. And also facilitating retreats around the world. And it was great, sold out courses, sold out retreats. Everyone wants to learn how to meditate with me. And then the pandemic happened and all of that ground to a halt. So my primary source of income as an entrepreneur basically had stopped overnight. And, but I had just gotten my book advance. So that helped. But it was funny because 2019, from a business perspective, was one of my most profitable years, even though I was nomading, like nothing really to spend it on except for travel and whatnot. But 2020 was probably my least profitable year as an adult. So that was an interesting contrast because a part of my offering as a meditation teacher is like personal experience. I had not been doing a lot of online stuff, and I'm not that interested in doing a lot of online stuff, to be honest with you. And so I had an opportunity to kind of pivot and think about what I wanted to do next. I'm still going to go back to teaching meditation courses and retreats at some point when it's safe to do so. But I'm also, I've also been reaching a lot of other people through my, like you said, my videos, and that kind of expanded my social media reach. And my next book, which is on inspiration. So I've kind of become known as the insight and inspiration guy, talking about a variety of topics, not just meditation or spirituality, but talking about relationships, friendships, and communication and all those things. And so I have been in the process of launching a community for people to kind of get more access to me, because I get messages all the time. How can I learn more from you? So I'm launching that. It'll probably be out by the time this episode airs, and it's called The Happiness Insiders. And you can access that through my website, lightwatkins.com. But yeah, it's just the whole idea is happiness is an inside game. These are people who understand that, who are dedicated to that, who are making a proper exchange in order to cultivate that, because that's important. You're not going to become fulfilled from YouTube videos. You become fulfilled from having guidance and a sequenced method of learning and investing your time in those ways. And I know you know and appreciate that as well as a teacher. So I want to give that to people who are interested in it, and give them more access to me and to my insights and inspiration. In addition to kind of opening things up beyond just meditation and talking more about some of the other inner practices that will help you overcome your fear and follow your heart and be purposeful in your life and find your mission and all the other things that you read about and double click on social media, but we can't leave it in that intellectual, conceptual phase. We have to integrate it into our life. And I want to show you how to do that. So that's kind of what I've been creating lately.
Congratulations. That sounds amazing. Sounds like
Thank you.
Community. And I agree, like practical application, if you don't have that, if you don't know how to translate all that information into reality for yourself, it's just information, And so thank you for creating the community. And I want to talk a little bit about your book. So what made you write this next book, and what does it mean to you? What is your goal with this book?
So this book, it's called Knowing Where to Look, and the subtitle is 108 Daily Doses of Inspiration. And so I started writing Light's Daily Dose of Inspiration email in June of 2016 as a way, again, of following my heart. My heart said, start writing a daily email. I was like, no, I've run out of material after like 2 weeks. And my heart insisted, you have to do this daily email. I was like, nah, that's too hard. You have to, I'm going to forget. You have to, I'm going to, it's going to be a hassle. I have to wake up early. You have, it's just kept insisting. And eventually I knew, okay, I have to do this. And so I decided to start it in 2016. And true enough, I ran out of material after a couple of weeks, maybe 3 weeks at the most. But then something really interesting started happening. I found that sitting down and creating the space to write generated new material from somewhere within me that I was not previously aware of. Right. So what I mean by that is I told all of the stories that I was familiar with, that I was kind of thinking, okay, these are the stories that I want to tell on this email. And I don't know what is going to happen after that. I'm going to have to go do some research or something, find some new material. But just showing up every day for 2 and 3 hours a day, it opened up this portal inside that allowed me to start channeling. So then I became a transcriber of the spirit, or as like people like Elizabeth Gilbert and Stephen Pressfield call the muse. And I was literally being given like, okay, say this and then say this, and then you're going to conclude it with that. No, not that, this, I know you've been thinking about this too much. Take a nap or go to sleep, wake up, and I'll give you a better ending. And, and it was beautiful because it meant that I didn't have to be responsible anymore for the content. I just had to be responsible for showing up and creating the space. So that became a daily practice, a meditation of sorts, because it forced me to have to learn how to edit my own ego out of the communication, which helped me in all areas, right? In relationships, and because the public will tell you right away if you're being egoic or egotistical in your email, or they'll tell you, that's insensitive, or, whatever the criticism is, somebody will write to you and tell you. If you send out enough emails, people will write to you and tell you everything. And my favorite days would be the days where I would send out a message that I felt really good about, and I would get the entire spectrum. Somebody would say, that was exactly what I need to hear. Someone else would say, how dare you? How dare you write that? You offended me, and then everything else in between. And then what started happening is you started becoming more and more immune to criticism, which is a very, very important skill as an entrepreneur. Because if you are afraid of being criticized, you will not take the leap of faith. You will go above and beyond to fit in and to not ruffle anybody's feathers and to not bump up against the walls. And you're not going to be anybody's entrepreneur creating anything of note if you're going to have that approach in life. So putting yourself out there on a daily basis forces you to become callous to rejection and to people. And then you start seeing it for what it is. Oh, this person's probably just triggered because of something they're experiencing, has nothing to do with me. And the stuff that we click on and like on social media, but we haven't fully integrated within ourselves. Because it's one thing to like somebody else's post, but it's another thing if somebody's in your comments telling you all kinds of crazy stuff and how you handle those situations. So, I just learned over the years just to listen to what's in my heart, put that out there. Don't get too invested in what people have to say about it, and just do the best you can. Right. And at this point, the only people I'm really interested in getting advice from are other people who've written a daily email for more than 5 years. That's who I want to hear from. If you haven't done that, you can write me all you want. You can send me all the feedback you want. I appreciate you for taking the time and investing the mental energy in reading it and then articulating your thoughts, but I'm really not interested in what you have to say. Unless you have woken up every morning at 5 o'clock and spent that time. And then I'm really interested to hear what you have to say about how I can make it better. So anyway, that culminated into this book, Knowing Where to Look. So that book consists of mostly the greatest hits from all of the years of because I've done over, thousands of these emails. For every one that I send out, I write probably 2 or 3 that I don't send out because I don't think it's ready yet. But I've had an archive of them all this time, and they're not found anywhere online. You can't it's not like Seth Godin's blog where you can go to his website and you can see what he wrote in 2009 in October or whatever, right? These are just, if you haven't been subscribing to them and you subscribe to them today, then all you're going to see is whatever I put out there from today on. So this is a way of kind of archiving and commemorating the doses that got the most traction, that had the biggest impact, that got the most responses, and the ones that kind of felt personally more resonant, and the most timeless. So yeah, it's full of the best. And I wanted to share it with people because I feel like it's very helpful to be able to crack the book open at any page and just get a little, they're just little doses of inspiration, right? It's not meant to be read cover to cover. We didn't curate it that way. So if you read it from cover to cover, you're not going to get what the book is intended to give you. It's really intended to just lay around on your shelf next to your bed, in your bathroom, wherever you experience doses of inspiration. And if you are having a writer's block, if you're having an argument with your spouse, if you are at a crossroads in your career, now it's really useful. You crack it open and you see, oh, wow, look, this is a story about Nelson Mandela or Martin Luther King or one of Light's personal stories where he was in a similar situation and like that. And hopefully give you enough of a nudge to look in a certain direction that maybe you weren't looking in before. And that's where you'll find the solution, right? This is not a book of answers. This is a book of nudges, of pokes, saying, hey, stop looking externally and start looking internally for the answer. That's where you're going to find the answer, not in what they think, but in what you feel and things like that. So, and this is something that still is very relevant for us today, especially because we're being hit on all sides with information and opinions and, causes and woke this. And, everyone has a thought about what you should be doing in your life. And the place we're not looking is inside of ourselves. That's the one place that continues to consistently be ignored. And I feel like we need some more tools for going back within. And that's what this is all about. So I'm really proud of this. This is my most personal work to date. And because it's not lecture-y, it's not instructional. It's just stories. It's just stories, right? If you're a speaker and you're looking for stories to open your talks, you're going to find plenty of stories in this book. So yeah, that's the idea behind knowing where to look.
I love that. It's like an inspirational handbook.
Exactly.
I love it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I know that, also during this time, you spoke up quite vividly about the social injustices happening across the world. Can you talk a little bit about what it means to be Black in the wellness space?
Yeah. I felt like, first of all, I'm from Montgomery, Alabama, which for those of you who aren't living in America, or those of you who don't live in that part of America may not know that was the birthplace of the civil rights movement, the modern civil rights movement, Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, and all those, and John Lewis, all those people were like moving through and in and around Montgomery, Alabama. And so that was a major racial relations, and racism was a major conversation my entire life growing up. And so it's been with me, since I was able to talk and understand what people were talking about. And I have had my fair share of, racial profiling incidents and things like that. And so when the George Floyd incident happened, it was awesome because that became a national and even an international conversation. And it was like, you have those beautiful locks, Koya, and you're vegan. And it was like the whole world wanted to talk about locks and veganism. And you're like, what? That's my shit. That's what I want to talk about. So I started to just talk. And really what I was doing was responding to the confusion that I saw on social media. In other words, I'm not talking to Black people, right? When I look at my followers, when I scroll through my followers from being in the wellness space for 15 plus years, I don't see a whole lot of Black people on there, right? And so the people who are listening to my message, I may be the only Black person on their follower feed. Mm. So, and I know that a lot of times, and I've been told this, and I'm sure you have too, white people kind of exclude me from the Black community. Like, yeah, you're not really one of like a regular Black person. You're like, you're like, oh, I don't even see you as Black. Those kind of comments. And I was like, no, man, I got to show these people that follow me and that have invested time into me, that me and George Floyd are one and the same. What happened to him could have happened to me, So I felt like it was an obligation for me to use my platform to speak to these issues, because there's never been a time in my lifetime where it's become an international conversation. If you spoke to it before, you were seen as the angry Black guy. But now you're just giving clarification to what's going on, or giving context to what's going on, and helping non-Black people, white people, understand that this issue is a lot deeper than they've probably ever imagined that it was. And so, yeah, it was fun for me to share those stories, because it's something that's been on my heart for a very, very long time. And I felt like I was in the right time, in the right place to be able to do that, because I had started the daily commitment of sharing daily videos here in Mexico City, where I am now, 2 or 3 months before that happened. So I was already in the daily routine, the practice of thinking about what's on my heart and sharing that, and not trying to overthink it too much, right? Because I've been practicing that with my daily doses for 5 years. So like I said, going back to our original point, it's a practice. It's not something I woke up and thought, oh, I need to become an activist. No, I was already an activist from my spirit. I was talking about spiritual stuff. I was talking about regular relational stuff. And so when that happened, I just moved that into the queue and said, okay, we're going to start talking about this now. And that's what got the most traction. I mean, one of those videos got like 3.5 million views. And I was like, wow, people are really hungry for this perspective. So let me lean more into that. And I did.
I love how you follow your spirit. And I think that you don't even have to know, you don't even have to call yourself spiritual. It is who we are. I truly think we're spiritual beings having this human experience. And whether you identify with it or not, it's just this isness that we're all experiencing at the same time. And I think it's very powerful how such a horrific just event could cause such change and could infuse the conversation that you were a big part of. And that's why people were so viewing that video, because I feel like we have this opportunity to talk about it instead of sliding it under the rug, instead of saying, you're not Black, and it's just like, it's so interesting how we identify, as Black, as white, as, different races, because I feel like, especially when it comes to spirituality, that we have this consciousness, and then we have our humanness. And because of how we're born, how we look, our humanness, we have different experiences based on that. Dark skin, light skin, Black, white, all these different things. And I don't feel like most people talk about that growing up. Like as a kid, you don't get the breakdown of what is going to be like living in America as a Black man. Well, some people do, but that conversation, or if you're white and you grow up in an area that doesn't even have anyone of a different race, you don't have the experience of knowing anything different than what you know. So I think, and that's one thing I love about social media, the fact that, because this is not new and it's been happening, as you know, throughout history, but the fact that we were all we're all in our house and had such a huge connection to each other through social media, we were able to have this deep conversation about race in America. And I feel like I'm so glad that you did what you did, that you leaned into this conversation and say, hey, my voice matters. My experience matters. It doesn't matter how you perceive me. This is my story. And I feel like if we all take the opportunity to say, my voice matters, what I have to say matters, we can have these healing conversations that can help raise the consciousness of the planet, because most of us, we don't talk about it, and we feel it and it hurts. And you see it over and over again, but like, how can we heal this thing if we're not having the conversation?
Yeah. And I would just add to that a lot of times, if you're on the fence about whether to say something, you have to remember too, that you're setting an example, right? Mm-hmm. So when people see you putting yourself out there, that gives them permission to do the same.
Yep. And
if they see you withholding, then that makes them think, well, maybe I should not say anything either. He hasn't said anything yet. And, so a part of that for me was knowing that people were watching me and knowing that I could influence other people to get out there and speak from their heart, whatever they had to say. And so and that's the thing, you got to make it bigger than yourself. If you're scared and all that and afraid, you just got to make it bigger than yourself. And that's the trick to overcoming your fear. It's not about getting rid of the fear. It's about making your mission bigger than your fear.
Mm-hmm. And is there anything that you fear right now? Is there something that, man, I want to do this, but I don't know?
Yeah, I'm afraid of a lot of things, actually.
What's top of mind right now? What is
every time I drink water in Mexico, I'm a little bit afraid. I'm like, what's in here? No, I'm serious. I'm not joking. I have a lot of fears. I mean, I think that's another misconception about spiritual people or whatever, people who talk about spiritual things, is that they're somehow not afraid. But I'm really good at assessing my own fear and then doing what I have to do to kind of overcome that and do it anyway. So I'm better at that than I am of being afraid. So yeah.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us. It's been such a treat to have you. I have a little rapid fire round. If you want to play along,
love a good rapid fire round.
Okay, perfect. So it's just one word or one sentence. What's your favorite book you've read in the last year?
God, I've read so many. Hold on. I'm going to tell you. I know this is not rapid fire energy.
You're not rapid enough. What's going on? This is like the tortoise and the hare. You're the tortoise.
Okay. Travels by Michael Crichton. I just reread that book like 4 times in a row.
Okay. All right. I got to put that on the reading list. I haven't read that. Favorite color?
Indigo, blue.
All right, nice. Favorite fruit?
I love a good mango.
Yum. And if you could wake up tomorrow and the whole world would be light swirl, what would it look like?
Everyone would meditate, obviously. And everyone would be following their heart, doing whatever that makes their heart sing. And if that means driving a bus or, constructing something, or doesn't matter what it is, just as long as it lights you up inside.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Light Watkins. It's been so amazing having you. And thank you all for listening, to tuning in to this conversation every single week, coming to the Get Loved Up podcast, asking questions in the Get Loved Up community. We care about your questions. We care about your feedback, and we love, love, love your reviews. So if you haven't left a review yet, please make sure you leave a review and take a screenshot of it and email me, and we have a little gift for you. So until next time, love yourself, love others, and love the world, one day at a time, one breath at a time. Peace and love.
I just want to take a moment to say thank you for being part of the Get Loved Up community. I like to share topics and people making a positive impact in the world, and your feedback means the world to me. If you haven't already left a review, please leave a 5-star review and let me know what you want to hear more of on the show. I'm here for you, and together we're making the world a better place, one day at a time, one show at a time. Thank you for listening.